G'day everyone, Jamie Chapman for another episode of 3 Minute Histology. Today we're going to be continuing our look at the cardiovascular system by looking at the vasculature. And in this episode we're going to be looking at the elastic arteries. And in particular we're going to be looking at the aorta, this is the section of the aorta here. So let's start our 3 minutes. So blood vessels are made up of 3 layers or tunics. The innermost layer adjacent to the lumen is the tunica intima, which usually consists of a simple squamous endothelial lining. You can see these flattened endothelial cells here. There'd be a basement membrane there and a very thin layer of loose connective tissue beneath that. Then, if we sort of zoom out again, we have the tunica media, which is this middle layer here, very acidophilic layer, and then on the outside we've got the tunica adventitia, which is largely connective tissue. Now, in an elastic artery, it gets its name because, of course, the tunica media, which is the main functional component of these elastic arteries, is made up of numerous elastic lamellae. These very acidophilic squiggly lines, these are elastic lamellae or elastic laminae. These are lots and lots of elastic fibers all sort of bound together in these sheets. They have little holes within them so that diffusion can work. So the diffusion can work through here. They're basically like having dozens and dozens and dozens of elastic bands within the wall of this blood vessel, so that when the heart ventricle contracts, it forces the blood volume out into these elastic vessels. They expand because of their elastic lamellae, and then because they have that natural recoil, the elastic lamellae can basically return to their original shape. As they do, they push that blood through the body, and then that helps to maintain part of that diastolic pressure which we measure during blood pressure. We see some nuclei in between these elastic lamellae. These are smooth muscle cells. They're actually modified smooth muscle cells that actually secrete this extracellular matrix. So it's quite unique in that respect. If we come out to the outer parts here, we might see some evidence of these little blood vessels in the wall of the aorta here. You can see some down here. These are known as vasa vasorum, which means vessels of the vessels. And that's because if you think about it, it's quite a large wall here. Diffusion's only going to work so far, and then in order for this outer part of the tunica media to get its blood vessels, its nutrients and waste, then it has blood vessels in its wall. So we often find these little blood vessels on the outer part, and these are known, as I said, as vasa vasorum. So we can find them in the tunica media. They're more commonly described in the tunica adventitia, so we can see some of these blood vessels here. Again, these are vasa vasorum, vessels of the vessels. If we have a look at another slide, this is a slide which has been stained with Aucian. Aucian stains elastic fibers. If we zoom in, we can actually see these black squiggly lines, and these represent the elastic lamellae that we were looking at under H&E. And they just make those elastic lamellae a little bit more visible. Anyway, so that's the timer. Hopefully you got a bit of an overview about the structure of elastic arteries, and in particular the aorta, and hopefully you found that useful. Hooroo!